So in today's video we're going to be switching out the sway bar on my 94 Honda Accord wagon. This applies to 94 to 97 year models. So I went to the junkyard a couple years ago and I knew that there was going to be something wrong with my sway bar, so I went ahead and got another one. And I got some equipment off the other cars that I found there, some usable links and some good bushings that still have some life left in them, and the straps and a bunch of extra hardware. In general, I find it's a really good practice to do this just in case something's wrong with one of your bolts or anything like that. And if you're already at the junkyard, you might as well pull a few things. It's always good to have stuff like this on hand for when you do something like this. The donor sway bar had some rust where the paint had come off. I wire wheeled it. So normally I would say I would take some engine paint in a can and shoot this, because that's got ceramic coat in it and it would keep it from rusting. But I'm kind of on a time crunch, and I can do, since it's on the side, I can do that on the car afterwards. I can just scrub it down, hit it with some vinegar, scrub it, and then shoot it with some engine paint later. So before we get started, I want to discuss why I think there's something wrong with my sway bar. I think it's bent. The reason being that before I got this car, it was bumped back here, and it bent the trailing arm just a tad. Not enough to really do anything too crazy, but it got bumped in the driver's side rear. And you're probably like, well, Foxy, what does that mean? Every force has an effect. So if you bump a car on a corner like that, it's going to affect this corner. I saw this a lot when I was younger with cars like old Cadillacs and stuff. They would get hit on one side and it would tweak the frame towards this side, so the whole car would be crooked. In this case, if it got bumped back there hard enough to bend something slightly, it put all that force on this corner. When I was in here working on the radius arm torsion bar bushings that go up here, I noticed that this side of my sway bar was not only rusted almost through, but it was also bent. The first things we need to do is we jacked it up and put it on blocks. The safest way I know how to do this, and to have room so that you can block it up on the pinch welds, is to lift by right there on the subframe where the lower control arm is. You can put your jack right there to lift. If you've got a regular floor jack, you can lift it up, and then on the sides there's pinch welds that come down. You can take a rim or a jack stand if you're on concrete. If you're on dirt, I suggest a rim and a block, and you can block it up like that. Of course, obviously before you do that, put your handbrake on. Then we can get to undoing these straps where the bushings are on both sides, and the sway bar links that connect the control arm to the sway bar. To remove the rims, we're going to be using a 19mm socket. I'm just going to use an impact. You could use a tire iron or whatever you've got around. These can come with 19 or 21mm lug nuts on them. So just depending on what your car has or if you've replaced them. And once you've got the wheels off, you'll want to undo the sway bar links. If you go behind the rotor here is the link, and it's a bolt that just goes through with a nut on the other end. So you just hold one end and undo the other. This can be done with a regular wrench like this, and an adjustable one, or one of these and a ratchet, two ratchets, just whatever you've got to get the job done, it can be done. If you've already got a impact, that's great. You can hold it up here and then zip it from the bottom. It's just really flexible to get these out. The ones that are on my car right now fit a 14mm for the nut and for the bolt itself. Now this one has a locking nut on it, so I actually think I'll be able to just spin this one right off and won't have to worry about holding the bottom. When you've got the nut almost all the way loosened, you can leave it on there and give it a tap on the top and it'll tap the bolt down. If it's being stubborn like mine, you can cram a wrench in between a couple of the bushings and push and it will start taking it out. Just in case something happened and you need to know the orientation of these, this is how it is. Washer, bushing, bushing, washer, spacer, washer, bushing, bushing, washer, and the bolt goes through that, and the nut on the outside. And the control arm and the sway bar go in between the bushings like this. So as you can see now, there's just dead air there where the link was. So now we can do the other side, and then we'll move on to the actual sway bar. This one's more stubborn, so I have the bolt held with a ratchet at the bottom, and then I have my ratcheting box wrench on the top. So the link is removed, and it's removed on both sides of the sway bar, and you'll notice we can push on the sway bar and it appears to be moving freely inside of the bushings. I don't believe that's supposed to do that, because this is supposed to act like a spring, and those bushings are supposed to be holding it stiff, I believe. So next is the straps. The straps with the bushings in them are going to be here and right there. So where the sway bar comes up right here, goes across, and right here. The bolts on those are 12 millimeter. And just because I can, oh yeah, you can see how loosey-goosey that is in that bushing. And I don't know if it catches on camera, but every time I move it, that bushing moves. That bushing is collapsed. You can see the overlap right there on both sides. These bushings are bad. With these, just a normal ratchet with a 12 mil socket on it, or impact will take easy work of those. So there's a bolt up front and a bolt in the back on equal spacing. I'm just going to come through with an impact and just zip these off. Okay, so I got the bolts out and the bar dropped down. It's hanging on the exhaust. We can fish it out either side. I'm going to go out the right side, that way it just goes over my shifter cable, and I'll just pull it directly out to the side. I'm going to keep it in this orientation so I can install the other one the exact same way. So I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to very carefully do one of those maneuvers, and we got it. So here's the old one next to the new one, and immediately I can see that there's a difference in the shape. It's the same sway bar, but you can immediately tell how worn down and bent the old one is. And if we take the straps off the bushings, they're very dry, kind of crumbly. So I'm going to scoot these up against each other, and hopefully I can already see it. Yeah, they won't line completely up to each other, and if you notice, there's a big gap on this side and the difference. I have a feeling the old one got really, really bent up. So I'm going to sit down and compare all the straps and the hardware and use the best ones, and then I'm going to slip this in and put it together. I put everything together. I've got the link over here put in, link over here put in, and none of these bushings are the best thing in the world. I've got to get some more, but it'll do for now. Right here I got the bushings and the sway bar mounted over here. Looks a lot better, and it lines up a lot better than the previous one did. So even if this one does have wear or bend to it, it's still better than the other one. So now I gotta look up torque specs, and I'm just gonna torque everything down and hope for the best. Okay, so everything is in and set to torque spec. The mounts for the sway bar were 16 foot-pounds, and the links are 14 foot-pounds. And I had to do these with a manual beam type torque wrench because the click stop just would not click on these. But I got it, and this bar lines up very well compared to the other one. Even with rough bushings, that's pretty darn straight. Same for over here. It's looking pretty good. A lot better than the other one. So I noticed a couple things on the old one. Was this side was really fried up. You could take a pair of vice grips and bend on this side very easily. Over here, this seemed like it got a little thin right here. Other than that, the subtleties of it not being the right shape were pointed out when it was next to the other one. If you hold it in front of you, this side kind of goes up compared to this side a little bit more straight too. So that was obviously a problem. All that's left is to put it on the ground and go test drive it. So the conclusion of the test drive, the sway bar works perfect. I used to have a problem with it whenever you would just like floor it. You'd have normal torque steer, but then it would like try and like steer to one side, or if you like went to slam on brakes, it would try to pull to one side. It no longer does that. I can actually let go of the steering wheel and hit the brake or goose it, and it doesn't try to go to one side or the other. So that fixed it perfectly. The sportiness of the front end of the car came back entirely with the replacement of that sway bar and the radius rod torsion bar bushings that I did not too long ago too, has entirely stiffened up the front of the car. It feels way better than it ever has. So I hope sometime the next video should be on turn signals for these and kind of figuring out why the side turn signals don't blink properly. I actually figured out what the hell is going on, and I can't wait to share it with y'all. So stay tuned.